Speaking late on Sunday, the US President Donald Trump said combat operations against Iran would continue until all our objectives were achieved. He warned there would likely be more American casualties after the Pentagon confirmed that 3 US service members had been killed in action. And I just want to also bring another line to you because Iranian state media has given an update on the death toll in Iran. They are citing numbers by the Iranian Red Crescent and say over 550 people have now been killed across 130 cities since that first wave of strikes on Iran over the weekend. More on that as we get it. Let's speak now to Seema Shine, who's a senior researcher and the former director of Iran and the Shia Axis research program, the Institute for National Security Studies. She served in the Israeli intelligence community for most of her career and was part of the Mossad between 2003 and 2007. Thank you for joining us on BBC News, Seema. Can I just get from you your sense of what is Israel's aim? What is the end game here?
Well, I think there are two end games. One is might be dependent on Israel and the US, and that is to make sure that we don't have Iran doesn't have a nuclear program and doesn't have a breakout capability on the nuclear issue. And the other one is the ballistic missiles, which are, as we see now in the war, quite harmful, killing people everywhere in Israel, in the south, in the north, and in Tel Aviv as well. This is the ultimate goal on the military side, I would say. And the other goal, the hidden one, I would say, which is also but doesn't depend on Israel, is the issue of the regime. What kind of a regime will be in Iran after this war?
Would Israel want regime change?
Pardon?
Would Israel want regime change?
I think Israel would love to see a regime change for a better regime. That doesn't mean that Israel knows how to do it or thinks that it can do it. And actually, I think it was also said by President Trump that the people of Iran that have already demonstrated on the streets in Iran, all over Iran, shouting against the system and against the leader, will go out and make the final job.
You talked there about the nuclear threat. What was the evidence of an imminent threat by Iran?
No, there was no evidence of an imminent threat, no question, because there was the war in June, as you remember, and most of the 3 main facilities were hit, and therefore it wasn't an imminent threat. But Iran has still a lot of enriched uranium. They can, if they get to the enriched uranium, they can, in a very short time, have enriched it to a military level and make a bomb. So it wasn't something imminent.
But there is conflict there, though. You do get some who are saying that there was an imminent threat. And I wonder, with killing the supreme leader, how does that square? How does all of that square with international law?
You see, this war is after 2 years or more than 2 years of war in the Middle East that started in vis-a-vis Israel, started on the 7th of October. Without Iran, nothing in this region would have happened. Iran was facilitating, was supporting, was equipping, was training everything. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the militias in Iraq, everything that we saw in the last 2.5 years is because of Iran and was planned by Iran. It's not only that they equipped them and they trained them and they supported them financially. It's also that it was the plan of Iran to attack Israel from all sides of the borders and to make sure that...
But I guess, Seema, what I'm just saying is the targeted assassination of a head of state is virtually unprecedented. What legal, moral framework justifies that? Yes, I take the point that the Ayatollah was hated by many, but legally and morally, what is the framework that justifies that targeted assassination?
Legally, I don't know because I'm not a lawyer in my expertise, but I can tell you that I think that the head of, sometimes in history, and we have examples in history, a leader that was removed could change the history. And I think in this case, the leader was the main decision maker in Iran, the only decision maker in Iran, and he was the one who was saying that Israel will be annihilated. There are many cases in the past that he had been saying not only that Israel will be annihilated, but also when it will happen, and he gave a date. So I think he is not a usual political head of state. It is a state that sponsored terror, that is designed as a sponsored terror in many countries. And I think it is a different, we cannot call him just a political head of a state. He is the head of a terror state, a terror organization, and without him, things would not develop the way they developed. So I think morally, no question.
Okay, and just to wrap up, Seema, I suppose, what would you say to those people who would make the point that Israel has made the region more dangerous? What would you say to that criticism?
I don't think Israel has made the region more dangerous. I think, and you can see what Iran is doing now with the Gulf states. What I assume you have mentioned what happened in Cyprus with the British base. So this is not a state. Iran was never a state that was thinking only about its own borders and its own people. From the beginning of the revolution, they have been talking about export of the revolution outside of the borders of Iran. And therefore, it's not a case of, it's not Israel that made the region jeopardize the situation in the region and the instability. It's Iran that has not only now has attacked Saudi Arabia Aramco facilities. In 2019, it was just out of the blue. There was no crisis between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and they decided to attack and to strike the Aramco facilities, which they did yesterday as well. Okay. So it's not Israel that made it a regional problem. It's Iran that made it a regional problem.
Thank you for talking to us, Seema. We appreciate your insight there. Seema Shine there, senior researcher, former director of Iran and the Shia Axis research program at the Institute for National Security Studies, also part of the Mossad between 2003 and 2007, giving us her insights there.
I want to play you an interview. I've been speaking to the Israeli President, Isaac Herzog, about the current situation and asking him about that joint US-Israel war, the launching of it, the evidence for an imminent attack in the other direction. This is what he had to say.
We are not attacking, not us nor the Americans, anything civilian. We are attacking places where there are launchers of huge missiles.
But there have been civilian
Wait
deaths.
a minute, who have created havoc and death and destruction also in Israel and the entire region. Of course, there are attacks on the command and control centers of the Iranian army and Basij. By the way, these attacks, let's not forget, just a few weeks ago, the Iranian regime mowed about 32 to 50,000 of those citizens, just like that, all of a sudden, just killed anybody who went to the street.
But we do need to acknowledge the civilian deaths so far. Now, I don't want us to move too far away from the point here.
Yeah, but we should not, Anna, we should not be naive.
I don't think we're being naive by asking what evidence...
You quoted an expert on international law explaining why things cannot be done. It's like waiting again for another attack by the Iranians.
Of an immediate use of force against Israel by Iran. Do you have that evidence? I asked if you had evidence of an immediate use of force by Iran against Israel.
I'll explain to you. If they carried out 20 attacks in Britain or perpetrated 20 attacks in Britain, you think they didn't attack Israel? They've tried to attack Israel from all corners of the earth in the last 2 years.
But do you have evidence of an immediate use of force?
But that's not the reason in international law. In international law, you use self-defense when you know that your enemy is perpetrating and planning movement towards a bomb that wants to annihilate you, because he says They say this bomb is in order to annihilate.
And
we need
President
to
Herzog,
remove
the law
Israel
says
off the
that
map.
has to be
We need
immediate.
to remove
and
Israel
you're
from the
not
face of the Middle
addressing
East.
that point.
Of course I'm addressing it, because we have huge amount of proof, which we are sharing, of course, with our British allies and every other ally. The fact that your base in Akrotiri in Cyprus was attacked for the first time by missiles from Iran, what does it mean? They think you're a friend or a foe? If you're a foe, then everybody should get together and fight these evil forces and break this empire of evil once and for all, and bring different hope for the region and for the Middle East and for the future of the world. That's exactly what we're doing.
That is Israel's President Isaac Herzog speaking to me a little earlier today.